just to reiterate from the last statement made
On the last video.
on the last video.
Part 1.
Yeah, part 1. We did not had us a
Doctor the audio.
Doctor of the Auto.
Yeah, no.
No, it was very impressive to listen to. I mean, it came through well on the video, but to stand there while I was filming, it really shocked me at first when I first heard it.
That's the goosebump factor with this.
Well,
plane.
it's so neat when, I mean, you don't get to the realism of the sound in RC. They've got sound systems, yes. They've come a long way with sound systems. They don't sound like the real thing. Okay?
Electric EDFs, yeah.
You got it.
Electric power plants in general.
Electric power plants, period, yeah. You know, but when this thing goes ripping by and you don't hear the EDF, but you hear that sound that sounds like a turbine engine.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the wind rushing through that.
Just cranking out the
It was
exhaust
incredible.
port.
It just added to the whole realism. I mean,
And it even sounded like that during takeoff.
Oh, yes,
That's
it did.
impressive. It wasn't just on the high-speed runs.
Yeah.
It was during its takeoff.
because
It had
you get so used to that high-pitched squeal
whine
with
Yep.
the EDF, and you didn't
You
have
hear
that.
something different, and you're like, what was
Oh, yeah.
that?
It was incredible. It was really neat. It was really neat.
Well, let's hammer the numbers, Rob.
Yeah, let's get into it. Model characteristic. Build is advertised 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, the kit comes really well packed, 2 different layers with everything wrapped in plastic and everything else.
Yep.
Real nice thick outer styrofoam. So shipping-wise, there's a very good probability you're going to get it in perfect condition, even when the carrier beats the tar out of it. And then it's just big pieces primarily. The fuses on the larger Freewing seem to be broken in 2 pieces. You have to glue, and they include the adhesive with it, glue the rear section to the forward section, and there's a couple carbon fiber spars that go through, and it mates up fine. You just have to make sure you route your wires through. This, again, we've said before on some other stuff, actually on the Rock Hobby stuff, this is for an advanced flyer, so chances are you've already done a lot of assemblies. You understand connecting servos, you understand extensions and what kind of slack you need and how to secure them. The instructions aren't going to get right down to that nitty-gritty like a beginner is putting it together. So, but you'll be fine. The instructions are very thorough. There's pictures all throughout, and everything's included. And they throw in some extra hardware. So, main fuselage, pop those pieces together. Throw on your horizontal stabilizer, your vertical stabilizer. They all screw in. And your main wings in 2 halves. You pop it together, feed all your wires through. You spend more time just getting all the, because they're there taped, but just getting everything connected. A lot of connections, a lot of Ys all through it. So you could run it with actually a 6-channel radio. And then the rest you're going to spend 2 hours. You'll have this thing put together. And this is for the P&P kit. The kit itself, you can get this in a kit form, which has, you put the servos in the pockets, you do everything, So you can, which is cool. You can get this kit in a kit form and use your own servos. You got a preference. I want digital, Metal Gear, blah blah blah. You just want to go over the top with it. You can build yours, kind of roll your own custom job on it. But
so basically, I could have one of these built by the time you get done explaining it.
Yep.
That's not bad.
Absolutely, and the battery would be charged.
Wow. You must be really going to drag on there. All right, let's go to finish. 4 out of 5. This finish on, you told me when you first pulled out of the box, you're not going to believe how this looks. And, we've seen a lot, let's put it that way. We've seen a lot of, we've seen things advance. From the time we started in the hobby ourselves, before we even got involved with the Two Brothers thing, we've seen a lot of advancements and finishes, especially on foam. And, this is kind of like a culmination of all those different types of decals and different types of paint techniques and detail on the foam. It's kind of come to a head, in my opinion, on this particular.
Yeah, I think the only thing they're still
plane.
short on, which I think probably saves some weight, is we see coatings now in paints that'll fill in all the little tiny spaces between the beads. We can still make out that these are beads very clearly.
Well, sure.
3 feet, 4 feet, you can still see that it's beaded foam. But it is EPO, it's expanded polyolefin, it's the good stuff. And the decaling, that like water form decaling makes such a difference. It just adheres to every little nook and cranny. And then they just went completely over the top with all the detailed tagging all over it. All the stickers, oil cooler, water drain, fuel filler, hydraulic.
Yeah, but it's not done gaudy. We've seen it done before. Yeah, we've seen it done before where it just looks over the top.
Yep.
And this isn't. It blends in and just adds to the realism.
Finished product is very attractive. And then, of course, with the big yellow accents on the F-86 that we envision in our head, it just looks good.
Yeah, it does.
A nice look to it.
All right. Moving on to power. Gave it a 4 out of 5. Now, Kurt, we've talked about the shortcomings of EDFs, just on
the challenges of thrust and weight.
This short time already on this video, we discussed at the beginning. what was, I'm going to ask you what was your first impression once you broke free, got up in the air?
As soon as it came off the ground, and it started, because the EDFs get their efficiency once they get air,
Sure.
moving through them. Your static thrust versus your in-flight or unloaded thrust is a lot different, but it pulled out.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. It pulled out, and I started climbing. I wasn't hammering the throttle, and it's like, come on,
Lagging along.
and you get on the bank, and you hold it, and then you don't really start feeling the climb out until you're coming back around, if you're doing a clockwise pattern, until you get like out in front of yourself. Like, okay, now it's starting to get out of its own way.
And it usually until it comes out of its first turn and
exactly
the speed.
Yeah, until you start coming down and really get your run.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like that at all. I had it on the first turn.
Yeah.
And that was the difference.
Yep.
And I felt it right away.
Yeah.
And then you go into the inherent characteristics of the airframe design, the way they've done their standoff.
Sure.
I don't know if you call it standoff scale, I guess probably to some degree. They've done their modifications to make it a good RC flying model.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt good.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's going to come into the flight,
Sure.
the flight characteristics and,
Yep.
and stuff. But power is, it's not going to rip itself through the sky. It will at high speeds. It's still an EDF.
Oh yeah.
It still flies like an EDF, but I feel like it's that EDF at the end of that graduation.
Yeah.
You're at the ceremony now. You're like, okay, now the real stuff starts.
Yeah.
We're kind of like right there. But in all fairness, unless you want to jump into a Bob Violet, EDF
Sure.
and spend thousands of dollars in the power plant, the
Yeah.
ESC and the batteries and the EDF unit, get real.
Exactly.
Not
I
to
know
be a
what you're
jerk,
saying.
but
No.
get real. You're
Yeah.
dealing with a $299 foam EDF that looks great on the ground. It looks
Yep.
great in the air, and it flies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
to me, that power speaks for itself.
Sure.
It was fun to fly.
Yeah. And in order to enjoy it and get run times out of it, you don't have to have it as a control line model.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy. Okay, ground handling, 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it has flaps built in. I didn't use the flaps today because flaps in a heavy crosswind, it just accentuates problems, especially on heavy wing taper jets and stuff.
Yes.
So unless you have a electronic stabilization built into it, it's just a handful.
Yeah.
So, but we did have a break when we first got to the flight line. We first got out there. We had a lot calmer winds, and we got one flight in on that. And then we did other stuff and came back, and then the wind was whipped back up. So it felt good at the ground.
Yeah.
It's an EDF and jet. EDF jet airframe designs are always a little deceiving when it comes into your stall speed. And I've seen a lot of guys time and time again fly them too slow.
Oh yeah.
And they just tip stall.
Yep.
They're done. And you don't have a very generous forgiving tip stall on a swept wing like this. So
No.
things happen quick. You go from flying to oops, you're no longer flying. So you tend to bring them in a little faster than
Yep.
what you would. But with a little bit of practice, you'll be greasing this thing in.
Yeah.
No problem on land. And then as far as taxiing and takeoff, it's nice. You
Yeah.
got good tracking with your oleo strut in the front. It softens everything that happens down there, and it tracks well all the way through to takeoff. So.
Well, all right. Yeah. Durability, 4.5 out of 5.
Overall, this is a more, and we did a different EDF jet review today. We flew another one, and on the grand scale of durability in its class, again, to be fair, this is not a park flyer, this is not a micro, this is a larger EDF. You got more weight there, and hangar damage is gonna be that much more impactful. You know, turning around a corner and banging the other on into the wall or something. It's EPO foam. If it were polystyrene, if it was the coffee cup stuff, it'd be a different story altogether. It'd be fragile at that point.
There's different levels of durability as far as durability in the hangar, like you said. There's durability on landing. I mean, you can bust an airframe apart on a hard landing.
Oh, absolutely.
With these being actual working oleo struts.
Yeah,
they work.
suspension in the back.
I mean,
and
I watched them on film. They absorbed a lot of it.
Yep. Yeah. So
and that helps.
It does. It does. I mean, you have to give it a higher score whenever you've got retractable landing gear in general can be such a weak point.
Yep.
And this held up really well.
Yeah, it did.
Took it in the rest of the airframe. Worst case, you could belly land this thing, and I bet you just pick it up to take the dirt off of it and throw it right back up in the air.
And the nice thing too is with these drop tanks.
Not that you'd want to belly land it.
No.
My point being is you had a retract problem, whatever.
Well, sure,
if you had to bring it in on its belly.
You wouldn't destroy it. And the fact that these drop tanks are magnetically
break away.
attached, you might ding them up a little bit, but
good durability.
Yes, we'll move on to pilot experience. Flight is advertised 5 out of 5. We've talked a lot about the flight.
This flies, I would say, it flies like an F-86 should. An RC F-86 EDF should fly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have any pronounced bad tendencies. It tracks a really good line. Adverse yaw, excessive slip are out of the picture. it just feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good in the air. You have good rudder authority. When you take off, you got to get into the elevator. You know, and I max the elevator when I take it off. And as soon as I see the nose start to lift, and I ease off slightly.
Sure.
But the way it's designed, you know, the incident of the wing and the general incident of the airframe based on its positioning with the landing gear relative to the ground, is it wants to get, it's a straight arrow, you know what I mean? It's you get up to speed and then you're gonna pick the nose up with the elevator.
Yeah.
Some planes lift off on their own based on the wing incident. This one doesn't lift off on its own. You've got to use the elevator to kick that tail down and pull the nose up. Once it does, then it doesn't want to, you know, it isn't like it wants to snap up on you and get all crazy. It just pulls into it and off she goes. But it, you know, it flies. It was fun to fly. It had enough thrust to get out of its own way. And what I found myself doing was forgetting, especially with the sound, I forgot I was flying an EDF, and it felt like a flying on the wing power slightly better than flying on the wing powered turbine. That's what it flew like, which was good. I mean, I had to say this is the best EDF experience I've had in this class for the combination of runtime and thrust. And that's the biggest thing I can say about it.
That pretty much sums it up.
And I may be impressed by something else more this year. I don't know. You know, there may be other stuff out there that just blows my mind. I would fly this again and again and again. And this is the first EDF of this size that I would say that.
Well, there you go.
And that's a combination of multiple factors that make it that way.
You convinced me. Where can I get one?
I'll sell you this one right now.
Okay. Flight time, 4 out of 5. You know, this needs to be, and you and I have got some differing opinions on this, obviously, but
in all fairness, I didn't go through and do a post-mortem on our flight time specifically, but I knew I was getting way more than I have out of 80 millimeter EDFs.
Yes, we've done it before to where you literally take off, you make one pass to trim out, and if you don't make that next pass a landing pass
on that first time, because there's usually a handful to land,
then you're not going to get it in.
After 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 go-arounds, you're starting to beep on the radio.
And I don't know how many passes you made with this on the first flight. I know it was well above 5 or 6, I'm sure. And there were high-speed passes in with that. There were several things. And you still had plenty of battery to come down and land. You weren't close to being, I mean, you may have been close, but
I landed
you still
at the
had
end
another.
Of that flight. I was at 20. Well, I took my last go. I took it off again completely. So you know you're burning battery when you do your initial takeoff. I brought it back down. When I brought it back down, it was 20.4 volts.
And it was 19.8.
19.8 is about your cutoff for ESC at 3.2 volts per cell. So we were still well above. We're safely above ESC cutoff. But right about where we wanted to be, and that was after a couple retake-off and landing attempts. So
it's hard to say we got X amount of minutes out of it, but we've got well above, in my opinion, that
the normal for this class.
The normal for this class, you got it. You will have time to get it up there, fly it, enjoy the flight, and bring it down. You're not going to be able to loiter for 10 minutes up there.
Unless you've got a lot of wind. This thing loves wind.
You
just get up there, and you can back way off on that throttle. And that's what I like, too, is I didn't have to have the throttle pegged the whole time I was flying it. And we've done a lot of these big ones where it's just, you're practically hammering the throttle nonstop.
Nonstop.
I pulled back a lot on this one.
Field size, definitely a flying field.
No question.
No question. No more needs to be said. It requires a lot of room. Portability, 4 out of 5. You know, you put the drop tanks come off magnetically, as we said. You cycle landing gear in their up position, and really you've got
just flops down its belly.
It flops on its belly, or if you have to lay it up on its nose, you can.
You're not going to be taking the wings off.
No.
You won't be taking the wings off, and it's so darn big. By the time you get it down the diagonal to try to stand it up on its nose, it's just a practice. So you're going to be transporting it flat.
You'd have a hard time transporting this in a car, but you could easily transport it in an SUV.
Anything
at the back seat.
Car with the back seat maybe that flips forward, where you get the trunk into the back seat.
Yeah, you could probably do that.
You could probably get it in something like that, but it's big, so it's kind of where
Kurt will give you a rundown of which models will fit in, so.
I picked up on the sarcasm there.
Did you? Oh, really?
You're supposed to say I was laying it on pretty thick.
No, I just let you figure that out. I know. Skill level.
Tommy boy, you got nothing? All right, go ahead.
Skill level, advanced. Enough said. No more. Don't even comment on it. No, I'm joking. It speaks for itself on that.
Don't. This attracts.
You're not going to learn to fly on
guys
this.
will get into the hobby because of jets. Like, I want that F-16, I want that F-18, I want that F-15, I want this, I want that. You aren't even ready for that. Just don't even. Look at that trainer, and then look at
Yeah,
the Warbird,
yeah.
and then look at and then go to the EDF.
That's like
It's
the
a
guys that
different-
got a coaxial from the mall kiosk for Christmas, and by February they want to get a 700.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
they're-
700
because they
helicopter,
look
they're ready to-
cool.
yeah.
I'm tired of this coaxial.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
So it's
Good luck with that.
It's definitely an advanced flyer
Yep.
and everything else. So, well, if you want to see the full review, and you're still watching, you probably turn this off. You can go to our website at tobefly.com. For mobile users, you can go to rcflightsource.com, download the mobile app, and take our content with you on the go. I'm Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby.
And I'm Rob. Thanks for watching.